the days of needing a call center with a whole bunch of customer service reps, that is coming to an end.
Yeah.
You look at the technology that's available out there. My wife just happens to work for a company that's on the leading edge of virtual agents, a company called NICE. And I've personally witnessed what's coming down the pipeline with a company like that. And let me tell you, it is amazing. The virtual assistant can do everything a live agent can do.
They're
Like
getting
they
very
can
advanced.
handle any type of conversation. They can actually recognize the tone of the conversation and offer empathy to the person. They can speak over 100 languages with over 1,000 voice prompts. Like if you want your virtual agent to have a Southern accent, or a New York accent, that's important for
relatability
authorities to create that rapport with customers.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So it's now that technology is expensive. So I would imagine the price point would need to come down for smaller companies to be able to use that. But it's there now, and it's coming.
This episode is brought to you by CSG. CSG's SaaS solutions optimize every step of the tolling journey, from billing and payments to customer engagement, helping agencies maximize revenue through smarter, more integrated experiences. Make more, save more, and do more. Visit csgi.com.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Toll Talk Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kalie Jakovics.
And I'm Alex Fakeri.
And today we have a very special guest, Kevin Bennick, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at SWC Group. Kevin, thank you so much for joining today.
Great to be here. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah. The man with the money. It's good.
That's right.
You're my favorite. You're my favorite. You're getting a Christmas card.
Yeah. The money man. No. Kevin, for people that may not be familiar with SWC Group, can you give us a little background, what you guys do and kind of your role there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been in the call center industry for about 51 years now, 20 of those years in the tolling industry. We are currently working with 8 different tolling authorities across the country, with 3 more starting up in 2026. And what really makes us unique is that we offer services throughout the entire life cycle of a toll.
Nice.
From creating a transaction in our back office system to operating customer service centers and operations, call overflow, lockbox services, IVR, IVA, skip tracing. We also do specialty programs like speed enforcement, safety enforcement, some cool programs like the Pay or Tow program. But our core business is collection services. So we partner with a lot of the larger primes as well. So all of those services I mentioned, we offer a la carte. So a lot of companies like to use us instead of hiring multiple vendors to do those services. We are a one-stop shop for that, but we also run entire programs on our own as well.
Wow.
Very nice. A la carte. I didn't know that you guys offer that. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, so Kevin, help everybody understand. So you're, as the Chief Revenue Officer, how did you get to this point? Like you're representing this great company with all these options and services, but how did you get into your role and where did your career begin?
So I've actually been in the call center industry. This is my 31st year.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Long time.
Yeah. Started out as a collection agent way back in the day, making phone calls.
All right.
And climbed the corporate ladder, wore a lot of hats along the way.
All right.
Most of my career has been in operations. I worked for one of the largest collection agencies in the world in the past for about 18 years. Managed multiple offices in the west of the U.S. and internationally. I did take a break in the mid-2010s. I had an opportunity to become a partner in a chiropractic firm in Peru.
What?
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that was interesting. But we grew that from a one-man shop to the second largest chiropractic chain in Peru. We had offices throughout northern Chile and southern Peru. And I was there for a while and sold my shares after a while, and came back and was really deciding what to do with myself. My wife just had our second child, so we had two youngins at home.
Yeah.
I thought it would be great to raise our kids. That lasted all of 9 months. I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to get back in the game. So I called Jeff, who's the CEO of SWC Group, Jeff Hurt, and who I've known for years, just being in the industry. He was one of our competitors, and went down to interview. He hired me the next day. My first week on the job, I actually went to an IBTTA conference, and that's where I knew I was in the right place and working in the right industry. And that's been a little over 8 years now. So I'm still young in the tolling industry with 8 years, but
okay.
That's my career path.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been in tolling for some time now. Have you seen over those past few years, like how the landscape has changed?
Yeah, really. It was tough coming into the tolling industry because I was used to a very fast-paced environment in the private sector. And one of the things that I learned very quickly is that the tolling industry moves very slowly.
Yeah.
And I had to adapt to that environment. But really what I've seen is just the implementation of technology, the acceptance of tolling authorities to learn from that and implement that into their organization has really changed the industry over the past few years. It's a good thing to see the growth in the industry and the acceptance of that technology in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Us being in the industry for, I don't know, 6, 7 years now.
About 7 years.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So,
what do you think some of the biggest challenges that you have seen or that we're facing right now in the industry, like especially when coming from your background in customer in collections and things like that, you think of the customer itself and revenue. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think there's several challenges. Really, some toll authorities really have their hands tied in areas like how they can communicate with their customers, because of restrictions in state regulations or even their own business models, where they're required to send out hard copy notices.
Wow.
Right. So I don't know about you, but I don't check my mail that often. And
right.
I know definitely the younger generation doesn't. So I think being able to adapt to more modern forms of communication would be helpful.
And that's something you don't hear about very often. Like you don't hear about that because you have customers. We talked about this in a previous episode where customers get their expectations set by other organizations that they shop and do business with, but they don't think about the regulatory restrictions or compliance or standards that must be in those states. And so I love the fact that you brought that up because I wasn't even thinking about that. Like that says something.
Absolutely. And it's, all those things can be changed. It just takes really a champion to head that up. And of course, time, those changes, especially with state regulations, that's going to take a lot of time to make those changes and convince the powers to be that they need to come into the 21st century.
Yeah, Kevin, you said you worked obviously with a wide range of agencies. You had new projects coming up. I'm kind of curious. Are you seeing, this or other issues as a common underlying theme across all the projects you're working across the country at the different agencies? Or what is the common theme for all of them?
So it's not all of them, right? Because some of them have the ability to adapt and communicate with their customers in the preferred method of the customer.
Okay.
Right. But I think there's also just a lack of understanding when we talk about the money. There's a lack of understanding of the impact that recovery programs can have on their customer and the bottom line, especially when you're talking about revenue recovery. I'll give an example, like
Please.
In early stage, understanding the type of customers that are willing and able to pay, and how to communicate with those customers is an important factor. And I know there's some agencies out there like Illinois Tollway, Pennsylvania Turnpike that have great propensity to pay programs that have been very successful. And I think a lot of agencies should pay attention to that if they can. In the late stage, like in collection services, a lot of the back office systems that are being utilized now don't have the programming or the setup to be able to manage successful programs like multi-tier collection programs, nor do they have the personnel to management. And that's been a real hurdle for a lot of tolling authorities.
I guess, how is SWC Group kind of staying ahead of the curve with that customer experience, analytics, automation?
Yeah, so, outside of going to conferences that specialize in those type of things, right?
Okay.
The tech conferences that advertise the products that are out there, we like to implement a lot of technology to improve the operations of not only the efficiency, the bottom line, but also the customer experience. Now, we are not only in tolling, but we have a heavy footprint in the communication industry.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the products and services that we're bringing into the tolling industry, we've already been using for years in other industries. So we're bringing a certain level of expertise with the technology that tolling authorities are just now looking at.
Right. Okay, very interesting. So you're kind of rolling this out into the industry. So kind of gives you a little bit of that advantage there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you, it kind of draws me to the question is, this starts to introduce, when you talk about services, finances, this is a lot of fast moving data components, and, we believe that, speed is everything when it comes to customer service and reporting. So how do you keep up, right? You start looking at different technologies when it comes to economics, right? So, or, I'm thinking like AI, right? That's the term to use, but maybe you can talk a little bit about, where do you see the tolling industries headed with the, implementation of tech?
Or how AI is transforming the industry as well.
Yeah. So really, I think what I think is that the days of needing a call center with a whole bunch of customer service reps, that is coming to an end.
Yeah.
You look at the technology that's available out there. My wife just happens to work for a company that's on the leading edge of virtual agents, a company called NICE. And I've personally witnessed what's coming down the pipeline with a company like that. And let me tell you, it is amazing. The virtual assistant can do everything a live agent can do.
They're
Like
getting
they
very
can handle
advanced.
any type of conversation. They can actually recognize the tone of the conversation and offer empathy to the person. They can speak over 100 languages with over 1,000 voice prompts. Like if you want your virtual agent to have a Southern accent,
right,
or a New York accent, that's important for
relatability
authorities to create that rapport with customers.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So it's now that technology is expensive. So I would imagine the price point would need to come down for smaller companies to be able to use that. But it's there now, and it's coming.
Is there oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. There's also, when you talk about the quality of a call for the tolling authorities that do have live representatives, there's so much AI technology out there to improve the quality of their agents. For instance, like we're using a product called Speech IQ.
Okay.
It's a speech analytics software that's able to monitor thousands of phone calls at once and really drill down to the agent level and offer them a report card on how they're performing.
Oh, nice.
Are they following a script? How do they react to the customer's issues, and did they resolve them? Then the agent has the ability to actually listen to the calls because they're all recorded,
Yep. Right.
listen to how they can improve, and that helps them better themselves on the next call. There's another product out there that we're using that I would highly recommend for anyone that has work from home agents, which is very common in the industry and now, especially post-COVID.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of companies allowed their agents to work from home.
Sure.
It's a product called Collaboration AI. Now, it's like the big brother. We require all of our work from home agents to be on webcams.
Right.
And this is integrated through the webcam. So what it does, it allows all the management to see all of their work from home agents on one screen and monitor everybody's performance. It identify if an agent is holding a cell phone in the picture.
Wow.
Or if they're away from their desk for too long, or you have a second person coming into the picture.
Wow.
Yeah. And it can also actually identify the mood of the agent. So if the agent's sad or mad or
That's
having
really
a bad
cool.
day, yeah, it'll send
That's
a flag
great.
over to the manager, and the manager can interrupt and try to resolve the issue with the agent. But the technology that's out there, that's to help improve the customer experience as well, because no customer really wants to talk to a sad agent, be a
Right.
downer there. So,
Well, and what I like about it is it sounds like, from your vantage point as well as the technology that's there, we're finding a nice balance between both people and the technology, which, I think is, important. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any more, I guess, for SWC Group, like real world examples of how AI has improved your operations?
yeah, absolutely. So the IVA, for example, that's the virtual assistant, the AI assisted IVR. Just in the ability of that to be able to what we call non-revenue producing calls. So those customers that are calling in to just get a bill copy request,
Right.
or they have a dispute.
Love that.
We're able to have that virtual agent handle those type of calls. So the agents are only speaking to customers that have escalated problems or that would like to make a payment with a live agent. Of course, the IVA can handle payments as well. But what that does is reduces the average speed of answer in your call center. Very important.
Yeah.
People don't want to wait 4 or 5, even 10 minutes. I've seen it as high as 45 minutes.
Or get a call back or whatever.
Yeah, or get a call back.
Yep.
So it's definitely increasing the average speed of answer, as well as the customer satisfaction of having that first call resolution, right? They don't want to have to call back after waiting for so
Absolutely.
long. So they'll get that resolved immediately, and it's done wonders for the call center.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty advanced as well. So that's interesting.
So what I like about what you're saying here is that, just the nature of providing multilingual, IVR support, or, through, AI, is there's a certain level of personalization that can take place. And so what I'm kind of curious is, so how does SWC really look at, making that more of a business rule than an anecdotal side effect of, generative AI in the future?
So, it's difficult for us when we're working in certain parts of the country to hire the languages that are needed, right? The larger cities are really a melting pot of people. So you want to be able to provide the level of customer service that really a virtual assistant or AI can bring to the call center that live people cannot. So I think it's important, though, to have both.
Okay.
I don't believe there's going to be a time in the near future where there's not going to be a need for live agents. There's always going to be situations where the customer really just doesn't want to speak to a computer.
Sure.
Even though the technology is so advanced right now, it's almost hard to tell if you're talking to a live person or not. there's always going to be situations where a live person is needed
Right.
to handle the call. And I think, especially with some customers, that's important to speak with a live agent because a lot of times they just want to vent.
Yeah.
They
Right.
just want to
Be
have the
heard.
conversation of
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah.
And it takes that live person to just be able to be empathetic and listen to the customer and then respond to the needs.
But also, I was just sharing this, I think, on a previous show that I was having a conversation with an AI agent. And at the end, I was like, wow, that was not a real person. And I
Yeah.
thought it was for a good while. But I think it's important to have, obviously, those automations, but also to not discriminate against how someone wants to communicate with a call center. So having that real person and making it easy, right,
Yeah.
for that good customer experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Now a message from our sponsor.
The business of tolling is complex. Trusted by the world's most respected brands, CSG transforms every customer interaction, communications, billing, payments, and more into a smarter, more profitable outcome. Make more, save more, do more. CSG, solving tolling's toughest challenges simply.
Okay, with the Chief Revenue Officer, I want to get into economic forecast a little bit.
Okay.
Do you see any key macroeconomic factors influencing the industry?
Yeah.
Anything that you want to share with us?
Yeah. So as a collection agency, we have unique insight into the economic environment of the entire country.
Right.
We have access to credit reports and FICO scores and the propensity to pay and how customers are paying differently throughout different parts of the country. With our communication clients, we are a national collection agency and we have customers in literally every state and Puerto Rico and Guam.
Wow.
Wow.
So we have insight as to the paying habits of the customers. But in terms of macro, of course, the hot topic is inflation. So that can really have some negative pressure on revenue. It increases the cost of doing business across the board with your people, your construction costs. Now, fortunately, that's come down, inflation. However, the prices haven't necessarily followed that, right? So it's still expensive to do business. Another hot topic is the migration of people. I'm sure you've heard in the news, people leaving some states to live in more tax-friendly states.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to have both a positive and a negative impact on some tolling authorities. Of course, the ones that are receiving all those people, they're going to need more lanes. They're going to need more roads. That's going to take more money. But of course, that brings in more revenue. And just the opposite for those states that are losing those customers, right? So they're losing their customer base, which is going to have a negative impact on revenue.
Yeah.
So right now, there's three major things as a collection agency that we look at to really determine how the economy is doing. The first being mortgage, the second being auto loans, and then the third being your communication. That's your phone and internet. When those three things go south, the country's in trouble. Well, the good news is there's only one right now where we see that there's an issue. So auto loans right now have reached a peak of what we saw in 2008 in terms of repossessions. There were over 800,000 that were due to be repossessed in this quarter. Another 1 million expected in the next quarter. So that is also going to have an impact on some toll roads with fewer cars traveling on the roads.
Well, that definitely that's definitely affecting infrastructure funding and, everything else that an agency has to monitor and, states contending with. And so, I want to shift a little bit and talk about the shift that's being discussed, or the softening of the funding models, if you will. How are tolling agents be able to stay agile and resilient in this kind of environment where again you have all these changes, whether it be administrative or state structures?
Yeah. I think, tolling authorities are just going to have to get creative. They're going to have to find new avenues for revenue, whether that be through advertising or fiber leases or changing their pricing structure. They're just going to have to adapt and think outside the box on where they can get the funding outside of just tolls.
Sure. And that leads us into like the lost revenue programs, right? So, like how, you hear these agencies, they're trying to make adjustments. And so when you think about scaling back like a revenue recovery initiatives, what's driving these trends ultimately?
So this is where I absolutely lose my mind. I've recognized a few years ago that there was a trend in tolling authorities in revenue recovery of really defunding these programs. And specifically, I'm talking about collection service programs. So, part of my job as CRO is to identify opportunities that are coming up. When contracts are ending, what's coming up, so we can get an idea of what the value is and prepare to respond to those. And this year, I dug a little deeper into my analysis. I used AI to evaluate 32 different contracts over the last 7 years. And the results that I found was absolutely astounding. Every contract, with the exception of 2 in the last 7 years, went to lowest price.
Yeah,
now,
I believe
typically
that.
you would expect that, right?
Yeah.
They're looking for the best value.
Yep.
However, really what is done is agencies have recognized that and are now lowballing to the point where it just doesn't make sense to even bid on the contract anymore. I've identified 6 contracts that we wouldn't even consider bidding on because the contracts literally aren't worth the paper that they're written on.
We've been there as well.
Yeah, we've seen that. It's a common theme. You just don't even bother.
Yeah, they don't bother. And even more than that, it's really the procurement of the tolling authorities that are hurting the toll authorities. So I started looking at some of the RFP responses that were winning these contracts. And what I found, again, was amazing. There was one in particular that really stood out. It looked like the agency took an RFP response from a hospital, recycled it into tolling, didn't even bother to take the name of the hospital out of certain parts of the response.
Oh my goodness.
Had these pretty graphs talking about patient care.
Wow.
And they were awarded the contract.
What?
It was insane to me.
That is insane.
But that's what we're seeing, right? So it's really just what we think is looking at the price and going with the lowest bid. And that's really causing a problem for the industry, because now you have more competition in the industry, right? It's attracting other players that can lowball these just to get a foot in the door.
Yeah.
It's hard to get other contracts without having some experience within the industry.
Yeah.
So it's great for these companies to get a foot in the door, but what's happening is they're actually creating more problems for the entire industry. I'll give you an example. We're all familiar with smishing and what's going on there. Now we have rogue agencies that are not abiding by the business rules of these contracts and sending out text messages to customers saying they're going to sue them.
Whoa.
So now it's a problem.
It's a huge
not
problem.
only with smishing, but with these rogue collection agencies doing these type of things. It's an issue.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask, if there's any other risks to underfunding some of the programs. So when it comes to operational inefficiencies, public perception, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it's important for tolling agencies to focus on doing everything they possibly can to try and recover the money that's already due them rather than having to increase their toll rates. I mean, we've seen the articles in the newspaper or the news where some tolling authorities have $500 million, or I've even seen over $2 billion
Right.
in uncollected accounts,
Crazy.
and then they raise the rates. And I know that they don't have a very sophisticated recovery program. There's a lot more they could be doing, and I think it's part of my role is to get the word out there, especially through things like this, to educate them on what else is out there, like the multi-tier collection program.
Right.
That the agencies that do run those programs, there's one in Texas that runs that program that by far, hands down, bar none, has the best recoveries of any agency in the entire country.
Wow.
They're typically 2 to 3 times higher in their recovery rates than
Wow.
all the other agencies. So if they ran a similar program, I think it would benefit all tolling authorities.
So let's focus in on that for a minute. So obviously they have a strategy, So what are some strategies, for our viewers and listeners here on the show? Because they come from multiple stakeholders, right, through the tolling industry here that are listening in. And so what are some strategies that you have that are smarter, right? They are a leaner, loss revenue program, or something that balances efficiency, fairness, and fiscal responsibility in general. I mean, can you maybe give a little teaser out there for people to, put something in their back pocket to bring to the boardroom and say, here's a better way?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some cost savings that you can do early on. One of those things is do an early outreach program to your customers before the accounts get severely delinquent.
Do you mean be proactive?
Proactive, yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Such a novel concept. Yeah.
It's a very soft call. Just reminding them that they have this account that's outstanding. No threats, anything like that. It's just an outbound call, courtesy call to the customers. And we run a program like that for a couple of agencies. And when we're able to contact the customer, we're resolving over 30% of the accounts through that program. Now, that reduces the amount of accounts that are flowing into their collection program,
Right.
where they're paying a higher fee for those type of recovery programs. But it's also a courtesy to the customer. Sometimes they don't get that hard copy notice in the mail and aren't aware that it's even out there. So a call is beneficial to them. They can resolve it before it gets to that point of going to a collection agency or adjudication or any of those negative.
Well, and you have the technology at your fingertips, right? Even if you have, you have AI that could be, a possible
Absolutely.
tool, right? To at least get the call going, right? It doesn't necessarily have to resolve the issue, but it could alert the customer that there is a possibility of an issue there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, another program is what I alluded to earlier, the multi-tier collection program, and that's having you have one agency that works the account for, say, a year.
Yeah.
And then after a year, it goes to another agency. So there's an immunity factor in collections. When a specific agency works it, customers are immune to those phone calls. They're immune to those letters after a while. So every time the account gets sent to a new tier or a new collection agency, what we experience is that the recoveries, you have another spike. So recoveries typically work on a bell curve, right? So most of your recoveries are going to happen in the first 120 to 150 days, and then they decline. Yeah. As soon as they go to another agency, it starts all new, starts all fresh, and you see another spike. So they'll recover about 35 to 50% in a secondary tier of what the primary tier is collecting. So it's a fantastic resource, and one of the reasons that this agency in Texas that's running the program is so successful in doing that.
Yeah. I love that you're sharing all of this data with us. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot today, and I'm sure our viewers have. We have just a few minutes left before we finish up this episode of Toll Talk, but we've talked about AI, we've talked about economics, funding programs, but I want to get the takeaway for our audience. What should the industry be focused on, that one thing, or what shouldn't they overlook as they prepare for 2026 and beyond?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really identifying your pain points and be able to know where you need to put your focus on your expenditures coming up.
Yeah.
So we don't know what we don't know, right? So taking the time to educate yourself on what is causing the change, what solutions are available, and allowing your staff to do the same. Right. So I think that's building the culture of every company and every tolling authority. There seems to be an issue of attracting good talent into the industry, but culture can really change a lot of that. It's not just about giving the swag or giving the free snacks in the break room. It's giving opportunity to those employees that are coming into the industry and are looking for a career.
Yeah, to make a change, make a difference, make it better.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
To quote, a staple, it's knowing is half the battle, right? And so little G.I. Joe shout out there. But so it sounds like that's what you're saying the agencies need to do, right? They need to get the data. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, for our viewers,
Really
listeners, for those that want to learn more either about you, your role, SWC Group, how can they get in touch?
The best way, reach out to me either through LinkedIn or through my email. It's Bennick, that's KBENNICK @swcgroup.com, or feel free to give me a call on my cell.
Yeah.
Anytime. I definitely prefer phone calls over written communication.
Phone call,
303-888-1615.
Perfect.
All right. Awesome. We'll definitely include that in there. And, I just definitely want to thank you, that Toll Talk is, growing and viewership is there. And, I can tell you that what's been really valuable to our viewers and, from the feedback that we received is, all stakeholders, including like chief revenue officers that can, bring in that other, the different vantage points that we all need to hear about that we don't get to hear or see at always necessarily an event or, have on a daily conversation. So what you contributed today was really helpful. So we greatly appreciate having you on the show today.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity and appreciate being with you and talking today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just definitely want to thank you. And then also thank our viewers for joining in on this episode of Toll Talks podcast. So we hope you've enjoyed the show and we'll see you next time.